All right, my name's Jeremy. I'm in the graduate office here in the California campus, and I'm going to be feeding some questions to some of our remaining panelists today. One of the questions we've gotten a lot recently is regarding from international students, the minimum TOEFL or IELTS scores. There's a lot of interest in what that threshold is and how to submit that information.
I can answer that one. We do not have a minimum score requirement. The TOEFL or IELTS exam scores are a requirement if you're an international student that studied outside of the US, the UK, Canada, Australia, and Ireland. So if you studied anywhere outside of those countries that I mentioned, you will be required to submit TOEFL scores, and they should be dated within the last, I believe it's 3 years of the application deadline, so by December 2020. And then again, there's no minimum score requirement.
Thank you. Since we have some of our students here still, there have been a couple questions about reaching out to faculty members before applying to the program, and a lot of people were curious if you, the students, reached out to faculty members whose research you were interested in before applying to the program.
Yes, actually, but I didn't reach out so early. I only reached out after the application had been submitted, just to kind of check in because it's so early and they don't kind of see us until later on. You can reach out only if you want to kind of get more information about the program, the lab, which is absolutely fine. You can do an informational session with them, but in terms of contact, I didn't contact them until even closer to the interview weekend, because there is a lot of resources online, and they have a busy schedule, so sometimes it's hard to kind of get to them. But after you submit your application, I think it's fair time to kind of connect and learn more about their work. And even post-interview, you can reach out again and connect with them.
Oh, I was gonna say, I already had a contact in here since I did an internship, but I know that yeah, similar to Rama, I did contact some other PIs that I was interested in after I submitted, just so once they already have your application in there, in case like they're on the admissions committee or anything related, they can recognize your name. It doesn't always hurt to contact PIs. I think it's also a good opportunity to learn not only about the research, but about the environment overall.
We've also got some questions about letters of recommendation. And of course, we put on our website that we request letters from those who can assess your ability to do research, such as your faculty members. But a number of students have asked about other mentors, such as graduate students who have mentored an undergrad or postdocs. Is there any guidance that can be provided on that? Are those letters of recommendation useful as well in the application process?
So I would say that you can submit up to 5 letters. 3 are required. 3 is the minimum. You can submit up to 5. I've been chatting with some folks in the Q&A, and I would recommend that if you have a graduate student or postdoc who mentored you, that you have the graduate student or postdoc work with the PI, and together they submit 1 letter. But you certainly can have a graduate student or a postdoc submit another letter, but the reality is it will not carry as much weight as a letter from a PI. So that's why I would recommend that if the graduate student knows you better, we certainly understand how that works in the lab, where you may have more interaction with the graduate student or the postdoc, and therefore they can really speak to your potential as a graduate student. Have the graduate student or postdoc work with the PI so that the PI can also contribute and also can vouch for you.
And I just want to add, because I saw a quick question, is it from a student, is it better to have more than 3 letters of recommendation? The one advice I have for that is just keep in mind our deadlines. The deadline to apply is December 1st, and you must have all your letters of recommendation by December 15th. So if you're thinking of having more than 3, just be mindful that if you don't meet all the 5, your application may not be considered. So hopefully, if you're asking for more than 3 letters, make sure they're from reliable folks that can submit those letters on your behalf in time.
One of the questions we marked here that we're going to be answering live is, if you've chosen your lab, what is the process for choosing your thesis? Is your thesis chosen by you or assigned by your mentor? That might be a good question for one of our senior graduate students.
I think it's probably different for every lab. I cannot speak for everyone else, but my personal experience is that when I started my rotation with this current lab, my PI introduced all the ongoing project and some project he's interested in starting but haven't had the resource or people to work on. And because when I joined it, I already have certain aspect that I'm interested in, and then we find the middle ground of like his research that one of his research that I'm interested in. And throughout that rotation, the project went pretty well. And then we sit down and talk about, do I want to make this my thesis project? What else do I want to add into the thesis project to make it a full project? So it's a result of communication between me and my PI.
Another question for our students might be, what about, this might be difficult for you to answer, but what about your application do you think set you aside from everyone else who applied?
I honestly don't know how the admission committee decide on who they want to give offer or interview to. I think for me personally, I do think I have a lot relatively extensive amount of research experience. Also, my undergrad research includes a lot of different fields. Like I showed very successful transition among different fields as I gradually learn about my interests in specific fields, and I mastered different techniques that I could carry on with me even when I moved to a different type of research. So I do think I showed those type of qualities, and I do think they are valuable for research. But I think this might be a better question for Paulo or Don to talk about.
I don't know if we're allowed to give away the secrets. What I can share with you, though, is that the faculty, if I know the students on the call here didn't get to really see the faculty who serve on the admissions committee who were speaking earlier, but the faculty take it very seriously and they put a lot of time and effort into it. Every application is read by at least 3 faculty members. And that's because they want to make sure that they're bringing their thoughts, experiences, approaches to the application and being able to provide feedback on if they think the student would be a good fit for our program. So they each individually read it, and then there is a lot of discussion about each application before decisions are made. So I can't tell you all of the secrets, but I can tell you that they put a lot of time and effort into it. And there are times where it can even lead to, shall we say, some heated discussions on who should be admitted and why one student is admitted over another, just because they feel so passionately about the students and what they're reading in their applications.
And something to add, it's not also the evaluations from the faculty. If you are invited to come and interview on campus, how you talk to other staff members or students or postdocs, that it's all taken into consideration. And everybody pretty much that you interact with during your visit is, sort of shares feedback to the admissions committee. So just something to keep in mind. It's not what the faculty or PI may think of you. Just be mindful of, who you get to interact with during the visit.
That's a really great point, Paulo. And that's because, as many of the students have said, there's collaborations, there's so much interaction going on between labs, and a lot of times that's started by graduate students. And so it's really important that we are bringing in people who can engage professionally in this environment.
Yeah, collaboration is super important at Scripps Research. And we've received another question about that, actually. Of course, there's collaboration among the labs at the Institute, but what about at other academic institutions and biotech firms? Certainly here in San Diego, on the Torrey Pines Mesa, the area is filled with organizations and other academic institutes. So, I don't know, Don, if you maybe want to comment on that a little.
Yeah, collaborations occur not only at the institution between labs, but also, as Jeremy mentioned, across the Mesa, between the California and Florida campus, and also with our colleagues all over the world. I can tell you of instances where graduate students have started in the program, and then because there is a short period of time when they start the program, before classes begin, I've seen students actually leave to go and learn a technique in another lab at another, in another country, because there's just this real sense of collaboration within the Institute. So that happens. It happens frequently. It is lab specific. It's not saying that it will happen to you if you're here, but certainly there are lots of labs who are collaborating with colleagues all over the world. And many times the graduate students are the beneficiary of that collaboration and that interdisciplinary research.
For our graduate students on the panel, there are still a number of questions about life and how to manage your finances in Southern California. Has that been an issue? Do you have any tips or tricks you can impart on our students in terms of how to manage your finances? What finding housing has been like for you?
Yes, of course. The grad office does really good job at assisting with the relocation costs and reimbursement for flight and stuff. So at least that you don't have to worry so much about. But still, I was living in Boston looking for housing here, which was quite difficult because, online conversations usually are not always trustworthy. However, there are a lot of resources provided by Scripps. Shannon had sent us a lot of emails about our apartment and room opportunities. We have a Slack channel within our cohort that we could communicate, find roommates. Anybody who is here who is able to kind of give us more information on how the living situation is. There's a graduate student packet that has all kinds of information on the areas to live, how to kind of manage transportation, etc. In terms of financing, of course, this is not gonna be an easy task. However, Scripps is one of the highest paying institutions for their graduate students compared to others, but the cost of living here is expensive. However, with the right kind of information, with roommates, you can manage to live here comfortably. And yeah, you just have to be a little cautious of how to budget your stipend. And we just had an increase in our stipend, so that is great.
For that. There have been a couple questions about the interview process, the interview weekend. Someone asked when the interviews are, and that can be found on our website. I can put that link for you in the chat. But that is the primary opportunity to visit the campus for students who are given an offer to interview, because there have also been some questions about are there any opportunities to visit the campus before applying?
So maybe I can comment on that. Certainly we've had students prospective students visiting the campus. And many times Shannon and Paula will work with the prospective students to reach out to labs and have them meet with either the PIs or graduate students in those labs. So there are opportunities if the prospective student's going to be in the area. But I don't think we're offering any open houses in person this year. We wanted to, but COVID continues to rear its ugly head, so I don't think we're going to be able to do that this year. But if you're in the area, sometimes there's conferences in the area, and prospective students want to stop by. We certainly can make accommodations for them.
There were a couple questions about the undergraduate internships, and we probably don't have time to go into that right now, but we do have a section on the website, on the education.scripps.edu website. Click on the undergraduate tab and search for summer internships, and you'll find complete details about our CERP and REU programs. We are looking at having, has not been announced yet dates, but we were looking at having another open house specifically for people interested in the undergraduate programs. On both campuses, actually. So more information will probably be coming about that soon, but certainly on the website, you'll find great detail about the undergraduate programs there.
I think we actually have a date now, don't we, Paula? Are we ready to share that or not yet for the internship open house?
Yeah, I believe it'll be Wednesday, November 29th. Let me just double check the date here. Yes, Wednesday, November 29th. So we'll be advertising that soon.
And you'll be able to find that advertised on the landing page of our website, education.scripps.edu. Once the page is up, you can find that there. I'm looking through the questions and make sure there aren't any ones that we haven't touched on. Yeah, a number of them have been asking about the Skags Oxford program, and there's a good amount of information on our website about that. But one quick question someone asked was if someone applies to that program particularly and they're not admitted, will the committee still review their application favorably for Scripps admission?
Yes. So I can take this one. So as you may be aware, there's one application for both programs. So if you're interested in Skags Oxford, you'll just select the Skags Oxford in the drop-down menu. The only difference in the requirement for the application there is one additional statement of purpose where you'll describe your interest in the Skags Oxford program, who you might be interested in working with, what you hope to gain from that experience. The application will be read by the Skags Oxford committee as well as the grad program committee. So it's very likely or it's highly possible you could be accepted to the Skags Oxford program, as well as the Scripps program, or you could be accepted to Scripps and not Skags Oxford. And to answer that question, no, I don't believe the committee would then feel the application is less favorable if you're not accepted to Skags Oxford. It is a very competitive program. And oftentimes students have all the qualifications and things that we're looking for in a Scripps student, but maybe not for the Skags Oxford, but that doesn't really have anything to do with, your potential as a Scripps student. So we do see lots of times students will get accepted to Scripps and not Oxford, or there's a chance you could be declined from both, but no, so everyone is welcome to apply. The application will be read by the two separate committees and then decisions are made a little bit separately, kind of on different timelines. So if you hear back from one program first and not the other, don't worry. That's just kind of how it works.
Thank you for that. And with that, unless there are any other comments that the group would like to make, we want to thank everyone very much for your time.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. That's great.
Thank you, everyone.
Appreciate all your questions. Thank you. Good luck with your applications.
All the best to you, and thank you everyone for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.